Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale. On this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I want to show you how I like to make falafel. Now falafel are these really beautiful chickpea fritters that are infused with spices and lots of herbs and onions and garlic, and they are phenomenal. Now obviously not authentic, but who cares? They are delicious and I'm thrilled to share it with you. Let me run you through the list of ingredients because it's not very big, but they're all the right ones. What I've got here are some chickpeas. Now these have been soaked for 24 hours. It's important that they soak for 24 hours and no less. And I have just drained them and rinsed them. Then I've got some fresh parsley and cilantro, some red onion, garlic, and lemon. I've got cumin seeds and coriander seeds, a little cayenne, some salt, a little flour and baking soda, and you're also going to need some vegetable oil for frying. That's it. It's very simple. Now I've got a small little skillet here, dry, no oil in it or anything, and I'm going to toast my whole spices. If you want to, you don't have to go through this step. You can by all means just use cumin powder and coriander powder, but nothing in the world compares to freshly toasted spices. And I found that in this recipe, since they are such a strong component, like they need to be, those spices are, a big key ingredient to this recipe. I want it to be bold, and I want it to be nutty, and I want it to be fragrant. That's why I think it's important to go through the extra step of toasting whole spices and grinding them yourself. But if you don't want to go through that trouble, then by all means just use some already ground spices. I'm just going to wait a few seconds for those to warm up and for the oil to release, and then we're going to start grinding them. I'm just going to grind them in my mortar and pestle, but you can use a spice grinder if you want to. They're starting to pop and get lovely and brown, toasted. Pop them in there. And then just, oh, if you could just smell this right now, it's intoxicating. It is like, I don't even know how to describe it. It really is just the most incredible scent. The coriander seeds are lemony and herby and just really, just almost like I don't even know how to describe it, almost like a flower. They smell fantastic. The great thing about using a mortar and pestle, which is what I prefer rather than a spice grinder, is because I feel like you are, one, hit with this gorgeous aroma that you wouldn't otherwise get, and two, I feel like it really presses the oils out of the spices, and you can also make sure that your spices are not complete powder and you're still left with a little bit of texture. If you can see, this thing is so heavy. Throw that right into my bowl. That's where all my mixture is going in. Let me give you a tip as well, because I love to use my mortar and pestle. I know not a lot of you guys see it often, but I love to use it. And the way to clean it is after each use, just run it under water, no soap whatsoever, and then dry it, and then grind some white rice in there. It gets rid of any scent. Pro tip of the day. Not that I'm a pro, but All right, let's get going on the filling. Now, I think it's important to do this in 2 steps because it's too much, it'd be too many ingredients at one time and they wouldn't grind properly. So I'm just gonna do half of my chickpeas, half of my herbs. You can do all the cilantro and all the parsley, or half and half, which is what I tend to do. And then you need to do just half of the onion and half of the garlic. Everything else doesn't go in at this point. And now just go ahead and mix it until your chickpeas have really broken down quite a bit. I'll show you what it looks like when we're there. Okay. Second batch done. Now you can, and I know I'm going to get a lot of people that are going to just disagree with me, and that's fine, but I do think that you can use canned chickpeas. The only problem with canned chickpeas is that they're already cooked. And therefore you need to be careful because you could really take this too far and have mush. But because the chickpeas here are not cooked, you can see that are not completely pureed. There's still lots of texture, and I think that's one of the appealing things of falafel is that they're kind of like this crunchy, they're just not that compact. And by using canned chickpeas, you can have, the risk of having just kind of a really heavy, dense fritter rather than a really light and fluffy fritter. So I'm going to add some salt. I'm going to add the cayenne for a little bit of heat. And now I'm adding some flour and baking soda. The baking soda, when it marries with the lemon, with the acid, it reacts and therefore it creates a really light interior. So that's why we add that. A good tablespoon or so of lemon. And now you just kind of need to carefully fold everything together and just mix it until it's well combined. Oh, and those spices just smell ridiculous. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover this baby and let it rest in the fridge for about an hour. Look how beautiful. Now, let me just show you. Already started rolling because I have no patience. My dough, batter, whatever you want to call it, filling, came out of the fridge. It was in there for about an hour. It looks loose, and you're going to think to yourself, that's not going to hold together. It will. The key is, first of all, look at the beautiful color on that. Key is 375-degree Fahrenheit oil in a couple at a time, because the second you add too many, that's when the oil drops. If the oil temperature drops, what's going to happen is your falafel is going to disintegrate and you're going to have not even a ball left. It's just going to disintegrate in the oil. That's not what you're looking for. These take a few minutes to cook. I would say maybe 2 or 3 minutes or so. Keep an eye on them. Your mixture will feel like it's too wet. It will feel like it's just not going to hold together. But I mean, as you can see, it holds together really nicely. It just takes patience, and you never want to add more binder if you don't have to. I mean, look at the beautiful color on that. What happens is, you see, the chickpeas were not cooked. They were completely soaked, but they weren't cooked. So you need the heat from the oil to kind of cook the chickpeas, and if you touch your batter, it actually feels really like moist and a little bit wet. That's what you're looking for. And you just want to make sure you don't compact them too much, and you don't make them too big. So just keep an eye on them. I'm just going to keep on going, and then I'm going to make a little lemon tahini sauce to drizzle them with, or to dunk them in, whatever you prefer, and then we serve. My falafel is nice and crispy. I took it out. You want to just keep salting it as it comes out so that it's, the salt sticks to the hot oil. Otherwise, it kind of falls right off. But you don't want to add too much salt because the interior is already salted. So that's good to go. And now I'm going to make a little tahini sauce to go with it, like a lemony tahini sauce. You can serve this with yogurt. I've had it with a yogurt sauce. I've had it with feta and yogurt, or with a drizzle of tahini. Delicious. This sauce is fantastic. You can serve it on a salad. You can serve it in like in a pita sandwich, however your heart desires. So in this bowl, I've got a little bit of tahini. If you hear the little squeaky sound, Mia is hanging out to the left of us, and it's like the cutest sound ever because she's starting to eat her hands. So that's what you're hearing. She probably smells the falafel. She's like, hurry up, Mom. I gotta eat some of that too. So I've got a little bit of tahini. To it, I'm gonna add a squeeze of lemon. Now, I want to walk you through this, okay? Because watch what happens when you start working with tahini. It is going to seize up, right? And you're going to be thinking to yourself, what in the world is happening? It starts to get, look, it starts to get thicker and thicker and thicker. And before you know it, it's no longer even looking edible, okay? So what happens is, it seizes up quite a bit. This is when you start adding your water. You need to add a little bit of water at a time. I have found that you usually need the same amount of water to tahini. Look how thick and strange it goes. You see that? That is perfectly normal and perfectly fine. You just keep adding your water until your sauce becomes a really lovely light and pale in color. I know it looks strange, but it works out every time. You just keep adding it until it becomes really lovely and loose and smooth. And that's what you are left with. Isn't that just so interesting? I love that. Then you take one of your falafels, which, I mean, they're just gorgeous. You can see everything in there. You can see the herbs. I mean, it's just lovely. It's not compacted. It's gonna be fabulous. And then I'm just gonna drizzle a little like so. Oh my word. Shut down the shop. That is to die for. It's got the best texture. It's really crispy on the outside. The inside still has texture, but it's not mushy, which is what I don't think a falafel should be, mushy and soft on the inside. It is, I mean, I don't want to say it's the best falafel ever, but it is the best falafel ever. They're really easy, really delicious. What I will do though, I will write down in the recipe on my website, I will write down a version of the same recipe of how you can bake them rather than fry them if you don't want to fry them. It's just they're going to fall apart a little bit if you're not careful, and they're not going to be as crispy, but I will leave the option there for you. However, I say if you're going to go through the trouble of making falafel, fry them up. make some tahini sauce, get some pita, a little lettuce, a little tomato and onion, and go downtown to Funky Town. Go LauraInthekitchen.com to get the written recipe. I hope you enjoyed spending time with me. I'll see you next time. Bye.